It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Boston University's assistant women's basketball coach, Brianna Finch. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to talk with you and share a little bit more of my story.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get into college women's basketball coaching?
I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, to be honest. Like most college age student athletes and students in general, trying to figure out what you like is also kind of figuring out what you don't like. When I was in grad school, I started coaching. I started with a 7th grade AAU team, and that was an adventure, but I really loved being on court and being able to teach and share and mentor and interact with them through the game of basketball. And I just found that really rewarding. And so I used that to kind of, again, while I was still going to school, had the chance to jump on as an assistant at a junior college in the area. So I was going to school and then coaching in the evenings or throughout the day when I wasn't in class, and just had a fantastic experience. And I just kind of fell in love with mentoring student athletes and being able to stay involved in basketball because it's always been a passion, and my brain is pretty analytical. So I think the coaching X's and O's side really played to that. And that's what led me down this path. And I've been doing it for 20 years now. So pretty lucky.
It's amazing. What was it like, obviously, going to Portland to play basketball?
It was a great experience. I'm originally from California. So I looked at, a couple different schools. I looked at a school on the East Coast, looked at some in California. And then when I visited Portland, I fell in love with the campus. I really enjoyed the people. The opportunity to play Division I basketball was always a dream of mine growing up. So being able to fulfill that dream, and it felt right. And like I said, I had a really good experience, and I wanted to go to a smaller school. So campus was the right size. And it was a really, really good opportunity for me.
What were some of your college basketball accomplishments, and what was it like getting to put on that purple Portland jersey?
The purple Portland Pilot jersey, right? I honestly, the biggest accomplishment was just being a Division I basketball player. Like I said, that was, the first time I walked into the locker room and saw my nameplate over my locker was pretty rewarding in and of itself, just because, you give up a lot as a, high school student athlete, and, sacrifice a lot to pursue your dream. And so just seeing it all play out and the opportunity to be on a Division I basketball roster was, very exciting. We had some great moments. We finished 3rd in the conference. My freshman year, we finished 3rd in the conference, made it to the WNIT, which was really exciting. Program hadn't done that in a while. So things like that you get to experience. We got to go to Hawaii my sophomore year for a tournament, which was pretty fun. Can't complain about that. But I think most of my memories were more team-based than individual. I was just really fortunate to be around a really phenomenal group of young women, and still friends with many of them today.
Of course, coming out of college of Portland, what was it like getting into college coaching and getting your first job at UC San Diego?
So at UC San Diego, I, again, had kind of, up until then, I had been a couple places before. I'd been at the junior college level a little bit before going to UC San Diego. So I had got my feet wet. I had kind of started to learn, how to coach, I guess it would be the right way, like what my interaction would be with players, what my voice was like, how to approach teaching and mentoring, working with different positions, things like that. Just, I had gained a few years of experience. Having the opportunity to go to UC San Diego is amazing. My boss there, Charity Elliott, who's actually still coaching in California, was great. She was a great mentor for me. I really, I learned a lot because I was still very young. And I learned a lot working for her, and I worked really hard, and it was a great place to be. Phenomenal academic institution. I think when we got there, because her first year was my first year, we had 8 seniors on our roster, I think, and 7 of them were pre-med. So they were brilliant. So we never really had to worry about academics, which was kind of nice. But they were a great group academically, like good human beings. So that was a really rewarding experience to be there and be surrounded. And we did really well. And we were able to recruit really well. I will give a little bit of a shout out. We recruited in that first, I was only there 1 year before I left and went to UC Irvine, but we signed 2 players. One of them went on to be a 3-time All-American, and the other went on to be a 2-time All-American. And so I was really proud. I didn't get to coach them, but I was really proud that we had signed them. And they were both California kids. So being able to keep California talent at home was a really good accomplishment for us there. And then they went on, and I think they went 30-3 the next year. So pretty awesome.
Of course, what was it like going to UC Irvine and becoming the recruitment coordinator and still the assistant coach?
Yeah. So kind of transitioning there. So I had been pretty successful at UC San Diego. We had a really good class there. Obviously, being from California and then having coached in California most of my career up until that point, was able to really develop a lot of recruiting relationships with high school coaches, AAU coaches in the area, was very familiar with the programs and things like that, the players. So going to UC Irvine, and there my boss who hired me there, Molly Goodenbauer, was who I started working for as an assistant junior college coach. So my very first coaching job was, besides my 7th grade team, which was a whole different experience. When I first started coaching in junior college, Molly was my boss there. And, I have known Molly since then and for 20 plus years now. So, I had the opportunity to kind of reunite when she got the UC Irvine job, and I'm very, very thankful for that experience. And again, just really lucky. It's a very good academic institution. So going from a really high academic institution at UC San Diego to another really high academic institution at UC Irvine, being able to coach, kids that are very driven, very motivated, very high achieving, was great. And then recruiting to there, again, just being able to recruit those type of student athletes, and being familiar with the landscape of California basketball and relationships. And because, relationships are extremely important to me, always have been, always will be. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what this profession is about. So, I was able to use a lot of those relationships to kind of, be successful in my role as recruiting coordinator there. And then to be at the Division I level was always a goal of mine too. So having the opportunity, that was my first Division I coaching job, and really challenging myself at the highest level for college was exciting to me and very rewarding. And I was very thankful and very grateful to this day still.
What was it like, obviously, as you said, going from the Division I to when you were at Salt Lake Community College?
Yeah. So I had spent a couple years at UC Irvine, and again, just a really, really amazing experience. Good people, good everything. I transitioned to Salt Lake mostly for personal reasons. My husband was in Salt Lake City. He had moved to go pursue his PhD. So, we had done the long distance thing for a couple years while he was in Salt Lake City and I was in Irvine, and he had always sacrificed for me. So I thought, well, it's, time I kind of sacrificed, and the opportunity at Salt Lake came about. And, I debated, it was hard to leave the Division I level, but at the end of the day, sometimes you have to sacrifice for your family and your loved ones. And that was, it was a choice that, we both made, and a very different experience at Salt Lake, but again, rewarding in a different way. In addition to coaching, I was also the academic advisor for our women's sports. So part of my job was coaching, obviously being the assistant women's basketball coach, but then part of my job was actually being the academic coordinator for softball, volleyball, women's basketball, some of our cheer squad. So all of the women's teams, I would help them pick out classes. I would help them with transfer requirements. Being at a junior college, I would help them, prepare for, whether they were going to a Division II school or Division III or Division I or whatever that looked like. So it allowed me to interact with other student athletes from different sports and just kind of wear a different role and a different, kind of just serve in a different capacity than coaching. Which like I said, I really enjoyed. I've also done some teaching at the collegiate level. So I liked the variety of being able to do that, especially at that point in my career. So, again, it was something that was really rewarding. And then being in Utah, again, this was a place I had only coached in California up until that point. A little bit in Oregon, but mostly in California. So now I was in Utah trying to develop relationships and meet people there and meet coaches there. And, just the same kind of thing. Again, just expanding my network. And, we had success there too. Again, very thankful. We finished third in the conference my first year. I think we finished second or third my second year. And we had, I think over the 2 years, we had over 10 players go on and play collegiately at some NCAA institution, whether it was Division I or Division II. So we were really, really successful moving players on, which is what the junior college level is about, and helping prepare them academically. And I felt like in my role, I was really able to do that. And I had a lot of fun. So again, that's kind of what the experience was like. Everything is about learning and growing, right?
How was it like, obviously, going from the college level to the professional level and getting the opportunity to become an assistant coach on the professional level?
So I actually was a head coach when I coached professionally, which was even better. So when I left Salt Lake, I had the chance to go to Denmark and be a professional head coach. And that was by far the best professional decision I think I've made up until this point. It was an amazing opportunity. I had been an assistant for about 12 years. And, you kind of start to get the itch. You want to have your own program, do your own thing. You have your own ideas. And so I had the chance to go to Denmark, my husband as well, and coach overseas and coach a professional team. So I was the head coach of our professional team. I was also the head coach of it's called Division I. So in club, they have different kind of levels. And then I was also the head coach of our U18 women's team. And they're kind of all a similar group of players, but they play on different teams and stuff like that in the European club system. So I had the chance to go there, and I was thrown into the fire. I had never seen my team before, never met them, didn't know anything about them, like skill wise. I didn't know what we were going to run. I didn't know what we were going to be able to run. I knew I had two paid professionals who were Americans that had played collegiately in the US. I knew I had an all-star point guard who was from Eastern Europe and was actually only about a year or two younger than me. She had played in the league for a long time. I had, some good young players and a couple of other professional European players. And that was all I knew. And I showed up on August 1st. I had a game on August 8th and had to figure it out real quick. And, again, coaching is about being flexible and adapting to, everything that's going on. And I had to do that. I had to learn real quick. I had to learn how to coach in FIBA rules, which are not very different, but somewhat different than NCAA rules. And it made me such a better coach. Again, just constantly having to adjust and learn and coaching. I coached against some extremely brilliant coaches at a high level. And, I was still pretty young. I was, early 30s. So it challenged me. It challenged me and it made me better and it made me grow. And I'm incredibly thankful for that experience. And then another, I got to live in a different country. I don't speak Danish. So I got to immerse myself in a different culture, which was really cool. I think anytime you can have the opportunity to study or live abroad or anything like that, it's just an amazing opportunity. And I was able to do that. And we lived in a small town in Denmark and got to travel and see other countries and, obviously meet people from other places. And you become incredibly thankful for, that opportunity and to see a different culture. And, I'm appreciative for that experience for not just the professional, but the personal opportunities it afforded me as well.
Of course, how did your professional time as a head coach help you into becoming a head coach at New Mexico?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, I mean, I had, like I said, I had kind of hoped the job, taking a head coaching job in Europe would ultimately allow me to come back to the US and be a head coach at some level. And I had the opportunity to take over at Highlands. And I think, my experience, one, just being a head coach, nothing really prepares you for being a head coach except for doing it. So it's one of those things you have to learn as you go. And so having had that experience in Denmark and having coached a lot of games, because not only had I coached the professional team, but I coached games for the Division I team and our U18. So I had coached probably 60 plus games in that one season, maybe even more than that. So I had already coached a lot of games in 1 year. And so that experience really helped me when I took over at Highlands. And again, it was a very different type of job. It was a tough job. It was another small town, kind of remote, not great, not the best facilities in the conference, not the best location in the conference, not the best resources, but we really just had to build our foundation and our culture around my philosophy and what I believe in as a coach. And I really am still very thankful to the players. Like, they definitely bought into what we were trying to do. We were limited in what we could do and how successful we were with wins and losses, but I really do feel like we created a really strong culture of a player-led approach and a philosophy that I believe in. And I still keep in touch. One of my former players just finished playing professionally in Switzerland, and I talk to her probably every week, and she's phenomenal. She's starting her own business, and there's a couple other players from that team who I still talk to frequently. And I think, again, it goes back to the very first thing I said, was that it's about relationships and the people that you get to interact with and mentor along the way. And so that experience, again, was it a tough job? Yes. But do I feel like we really built something in those 2 years? Absolutely. And I was able to take my head coaching experience, my ability to adapt and learn on the fly. And, again, because you never know in Europe, like, I didn't know, I was thrown into the fire and coaching in a group I hadn't seen. Same thing when I took over at Highlands. I didn't recruit any of the players that first year. And we just had to learn as we, learn what their strengths are. How do I put them in a position to be successful? Because that's my job. How do I learn them? I had to, I didn't recruit them. So I hadn't built recruiting relationships with them. So I had to not only, learn the basketball piece, I had to learn the person, the human piece. And get them to, trust me, and for me to trust them, and build that very quickly so that we could move from on the court to off the court and off the court to on the court. So I just think that experience, again, definitely being abroad and having a diverse kind of skill set that you have to be able to adapt to allowed me to transition to the job at Highlands rather seamlessly.
Of course, what was it like transitioning from being a head coach at New Mexico to going to Barry to become an assistant coach again and a recruitment coordinator?
Yeah. So that was challenging. I will be 100% honest and transparent. When you go from being a head coach for 3 years at, different levels, that first year as an assistant it was hard. It was very hard. You have your own ideas. You've been a head coach. You see things through that head coaching lens. And it's hard to step back and realize at the end of the day, like, that's not my decision to make. That's my head coach's decision to make. I can help. I can give support. I can, bring whatever it is to the table. But at the end of the day, like, if their decision, it's their decision to make. And if it's different than mine, then I need to support that. I need to get on board. It's not my decision to make. That final decision isn't mine. And it's hard sometimes. And it's especially hard when you've been the person making those decisions, kind of inadvertently or subconsciously just revert back to, oh, I'm going to make that decision, but it's not yours to make anymore. So I think that was hard. It was a hard adjustment that first year for me to be able to really, find my voice without having the head coach voice. And, just kind of thinking back, the second and third years got a little bit easier. I was able to not let frustrations get to me as much, and I was able to a little bit more take a step back and, think about, okay, if I was the head coach, what would I want from my assistant and how do I provide that? So, I think I got better over a little bit of time, and then also just building a relationship with the head coach again. Like, I didn't know him prior to accepting that position. And so it took us a little while to get to know each other and what our strengths and weaknesses were. And it was just the two of us. So at the Division II level, it's usually just, you don't have a big staff. So, again, I'm amazing. We did really well. We were able to find quite a bit of success and recruit some amazing players, a lot of international players there. I was able to use a lot of my international ties to recruit some really great talent internationally there. And who, especially Miami, who doesn't want to go to Miami, right? Live by the beach and enjoy sunshine in December and 80-degree weather. So that was not a hard sell, especially to, recruits from other countries and whatnot. So it was a good experience, and I learned a lot. And I think it really allowed me to kind of take a step back into that assistant coach position and really find a voice back in that after having been a head coach.
Of course, what was it like going to FIU to become that assistant coach?
So that was another great opportunity. I had been at Barry for 3 years. I enjoyed it. I was, again, kind of figuring out my role and my voice. And then I had the chance to go to FIU and be back at the Division I level and not have to move, which was really nice. Obviously with the coaching profession, you end up moving a lot. And so the opportunity to be able to stay home and not have to relocate but yet still get to move up to the Division I level and be an assistant at that level again. And I had spoken with the head coach at the time and Tiara Malcolm, and she, had a great conversation with her, and it just felt right. I really value, and I still, again, to this day, she's one of my closest friends and colleagues. I just valued what she was about. Like, it wasn't about it was about the people again. And as the longer I've been in coaching, the more I value that. And that was something that really was important to her and was important to me. And I think we very much aligned with. And so that position was actually where I felt like, having been an assistant for 3 years, I finally felt like I was probably the best, I don't know how to phrase, I felt like I had found myself as an assistant again, and a very valuable assistant, because I could finally find the balance between understanding what my head coach needed and being able to fill that void without them having to ask for something, and not, but also still having a voice, because I have a lot of experience, but understanding, again, my job is to support them as best I can and try to use my head coaching experience to anticipate their needs and, my recruiting connections to help our staff and whatever it is, but yet also I don't get frustrated, if a head coach doesn't go with my idea, or if a head coach, comes up with an idea that's, different than maybe what I would do in that situation. So I fully can fully embrace the role, I think. And that was the first time I think I could fully embrace it and enjoy it and have a really rewarding experience as an assistant again, after having been a head coach. So yeah, I'm very, very thankful. And like I said, she's still one of my closest friends and colleagues.
Of course, what was it like coming to Boston University after your time at Davidson College?
Again, it's been a great first year here at BU. Davidson was a phenomenal year. It was a little tough because we were in COVID. So I don't know if I got the full Davidson experience, but another remarkable university, or college, Davidson College, and a phenomenal staff. Again, I went to Davidson for a couple of reasons, but the people, I think very highly of their staff and what they're about. And, I was very fortunate to work with them for the year and observe and learn and grow myself as a coach. But then, my role was a little bit different there. I was director of player development. So I was a little bit limited in what I could do. So when I had the opportunity to come to BU in this role, I jumped at it. I love everything that Boston University is about as a university. I've known about BU for many years, and the academic side it provides and some of the programs it offers. So when I had the opportunity to interview and meet with Coach Graves, I was incredibly excited, incredibly thankful when she actually offered me the job. And I haven't looked back since. It was a great transition. Again, very fortunate to be at some high academic institutions, obviously being at Davidson College and now here at BU. Like, we get to recruit really, everywhere I've been, but we get to recruit really quality student athletes, just good people, very socially aware. Boston, I've heard Boston's a really cool city. I'm not going to lie. I have not got to explore it as much as I would like to. I'm hoping that in the springtime and early summer, before recruiting, I get to kind of go and hopefully get to a Red Sox game and do a little bit more exploration. But it's been a great first year. I'm excited about the future of our program. We just had a think tank this morning, and I was just talking with one of our incoming 22 kids, and she's like, "You're always so positive." And I'm like, "Well, how can I not be? Like, I'm incredibly fortunate. I love what I do. My path has not been easy, but I've been able to coach and recruit and mentor some amazing human beings. And I have been doing this for 20 years, and it's my livelihood. And I embrace the opportunity, and I try to make the most of it each day. And I work really hard, and I value people. So I think the combination of all that allows me to be pretty positive. So yeah, we'll see.
Who are some of the teams that you face in your conference at Boston University?
So we're in the Patriot League. So we face American, Holy Cross. Those were the top two with us. Bucknell, Army, Navy, Lafayette, Colgate, those Loyola and Maryland kind of make up our Patriot League. Again, very high academic, basically right up there behind the Ivy Leagues.
Of course, what does the recruitment process look like for the prospective student athletes looking to come to Boston University?
Yeah, so obviously we try to be very proactive. We're already recruiting 23, 24, 25. It's a very specific process. Obviously, they have to fit the academic piece for us. So, student athletes that we kind of target, if we like their skill set or, whatever athletic traits and where we feel them fitting into our basketball system. We also have to make sure that that academic piece fits. So before we can even move forward on a student athlete, we have to get a pre-read, their transcripts, get them pre-read by our admissions, make sure they're, able to meet admission standards, and then we can move forward in the process. But we're out recruiting all the time. We just got off the road this past eval period. We'll be on the road all of July, talking to coaches, really trying to develop relationships with our recruits. Again, we really want to feel really confident in who we're recruiting and that they're a good fit for us and that we're a good fit for them. It's a two-way street, and not everybody's going to fit BU and our system and our staff, and we're not going to fit what they want either. Some of them may not want to go into school in a big city, and that's probably not BU. But we are very fortunate in all the things that we can offer, and it's been a great place to be. We have amazing support from our administration, and we were one game out of winning the Patriot League last year, so we have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to turn the corner next year and bring home a trophy. So that's, something else that in our recruiting process, we definitely want to share with our prospective recruits and what they look like and what our future looks like and them being a part of that future. And, we hope when that process, they get excited as excited as we get about it.
Of course, what does the official visit look like for those prospective student athletes looking to come to BU?
An official visit. We try to woo them. Again, and we obviously want to show them what our program is about. We want them to spend time with our current players, because at the end of the day, like, their teammates are who they spend a lot of time with. So we want to make sure that they're fitting in well with their future prospective team. And we want our team to feel like they're a good fit as well. We'll ask our players, how did they see so-and-so fitting in and whatnot. We obviously, the academic piece, we'll have them meet with our academic coordinator. We'll have them meet with our career and development coordinator. We couldn't because of COVID, but we could potentially have them go to a class and sit in on a class. And then we also try to show them the city a little bit. And, again, it's a really great place. We feel we're very fortunate. We have the trifecta. So we have the great academics, the great athletic piece, and the opportunity to win a championship. And then we're in a world-class city. So who doesn't want to share Boston? So, we'll take them maybe to Little Italy for dinner, and, or depending on what they are interested in, we also try to kind of build their official visit around things that are important to them and interesting to them, and their family, depending on if their family comes with them. So, but we really just want to spend a lot of time getting to know them, and for them to get to know our players as well. And again, just really have the opportunity to be face-to-face with building that relationship even further, and hopefully them seeing themselves as a part of our program.
What advice would you give future college basketball players looking to play in college?
Oh, that's a good one. I think the first thing is they just have to really love what they do. If you don't love basketball and truly enjoy the opportunity to, push yourself and grow, it's going to be hard to really enjoy the collegiate experience. And that's okay. Like, it's not for everybody. And there's various levels too. And that's why there is a Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, JUCO. Like, there's a place for everybody. And it's okay to not play. So I think making sure that your focus and your goals align with what you want down the road. And I think if your goal is to play Division I, then get after it, be aggressive, go ahead, reach out to the coaches of the schools that you're talking to, or want to talk to. Really build the relationship, really do your homework. I think finding the right fit is really important. I think a lot of times student athletes get lost in, some of the things that may not be as important. So I think it's really important to understand for them what is important to them. Is it size of school? Is it academics? Do they have their major? Can they study what they want to study? What does the support staff look like? What is their style of play? Do I even fit that style of play? Things like that. I think making sure that the student athletes really ask those questions and have a good understanding of where they fit into that piece will make their college experience that much better, and hopefully not, have to leave.
What advice would you give college basketball players looking to go to the professionals, whether it's Athletes Unlimited, the WNBA, or overseas?
So again, I think kind of going back to the last question, as far as finding the right fit, if that is an aspiration for the student athlete, the collegiate student athlete, I think asking that and knowing about that in the recruiting process is important, because the player development piece is important. So not only will that student athlete want to make sure that they have a good college experience, they help the team, but they will want to be somewhere where they will be able to really develop as a player and have a staff and a program that focuses on player development, and what that looks like for them. I know for us, we, and me personally, like, I very much love and enjoy that piece, and work really hard to improve that experience for our student athletes and myself to grow me as a coach. But like, what does that player development plan look like? Where do they want to get to? What is the end goal? How do we get there? How to constantly reevaluating that and that piece, and what's going to help them be most successful as they transition out of college into the professional ranks, whatever that looks like. So I think having an awareness of going into a program that understands that or values that is important too. And then also being somewhere that where that staff could potentially have connections. You know, obviously I've coached professionally overseas. I've recruited a lot of players from overseas. Our head coach played pro overseas. One of our other assistants played in the WNBA and played overseas. So we have a lot of experience and connections with that. So we're very fortunate that we, you know, could hopefully and have, you know, even in this first year and moving forward, help players find places to play abroad or in the WNBA if that was, you know, they have the skill and the ability to do that. But I definitely think players need to be aware of that when they're choosing a school too, and just kind of what that looks like. And then again, you know, being proactive in the same way, like if they want to play overseas in Europe, we contact clubs, contact coaches, you know, and then just kind of try to, you know, be open to, it may not be perfect the first year, but once you get your foot in the door, then you kind of can build from there. You know, I had one of my players who played Division II for me at Highlands. She was from Switzerland, but she went over to England, which is an okay professional league, got her master's paid for while playing, did really, really well, was able to then get a contract playing in, she played in Italy, which is one of the better leagues, spent a year in Italy, great experience, and then went back to Switzerland this past year just because she wanted to be closer to home. She had been away for a long time, so she wanted to be closer to home. But again, just kind of getting your foot in the door, really making your name for yourself overseas in any league can then kind of propel you into a higher league and better contracts, better competition and stuff like that.
What advice would you give coaches looking to coach professionally like you did?
To not be afraid to take a chance on yourself. That was, you know, if you want to coach professional, I mean, obviously it's a different experience. You're living in a different country, you know, coaching in a different set of rules, officiating's different. It's just a very different experience. And it can be a little bit scary and there's a big unknown. But if you're willing to take a chance on yourself and try something new, you know, I always tell players to go outside their comfort zone. I try to emulate that. You know, it was by far the most rewarding professional experience I've had up until this point. Because it made me such a better coach, and a better person. Like having, again, the opportunity to live in another country and another culture was incredibly rewarding. So I think that's the best advice. And then just always try to meet people, and value people and value what people have to say and really listen to what they have to say, because everybody, you know, can bring something to the table. And I try to learn from everybody, whether that's a first year head coach, a first year assistant coach, or a veteran coach. Like, I think everybody has something valuable and perspective to bring, and, you know, really just listening and then just trying to value that information to help you move on to whatever your next career path would be. And if it's overseas or professional, then that could be a great way.
What advice would you give college coaches looking to get started in coaching, whether they want to be assistant coaches or college head coaches?
Yeah, I mean, I think my advice is pretty much the same. It goes, you know, people are what's most important. People matter. Putting yourself out there is important, especially now. Like when I first started, it was a much different world. There was not social media at all. We barely had email. So it's a much different professional landscape now. So I think but it's good. It can have a lot of, you know, as much as we talk about the negative, I think there's a lot of positives to it too. You know, I've been able to connect with a lot of coaches through Twitter and Instagram that I would have never met. So, you know, use that platform to your advantage if you can professionally. Meet people, try to ask people questions, try to get on the phone with them, try to get in person with them if it's local. But just try to build your network of coaches as best you can, but build it with sincerity and genuine, not thinking this is going to lead me to a job. I think that's where there's a mistake. Like, make a connection because you truly like want to learn from them. I think at least that's my advice. You know, I you know, I don't know what next job will be, if there's next job, you know, but I don't care. You know, I talk to people and I meet new people because I want to know what they have to say, and I want to be able to share what I know And so I think if you can do that as a first, starting out coach, and that will come through, and that will allow you to have opportunities to get your foot in the door. And then when you get in your foot in the door, you just got to work. I'm one of those people. I don't know anything other than working as hard as I can. I probably need more balance. I'm sure I need more balance. But again, I love what I do, so I can't complain.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media, along with the Boston University women's basketball program at?
Yeah. So, I'm on Instagram and Twitter, more so on Twitter, as far as professionally, and it's at WBB Coach Finch. You can also find my email on our BU website. It's just bfinch@bu.edu. And if people reach out and want to talk hoops, I'm usually willing to share my number and talk hoops. So always happy for that discussion. BU women's basketball on Twitter and Instagram is just at Terrier WBB. So same thing, you can find us there. And obviously on our website, and we're in the Patriot League. And again, I'm happy to share and learn and continue to grow.
Thank you again, Coach Brianna Finch, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the Boston University as the assistant women's basketball coach.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. Great to talk.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.